Everyone. Today, I'm going to answer a few people's questions about how do I custom quilt? How can I design my own work? So I thought that we'd make a table runner together. And I'm sorry, I've got a cold, so I'm a little bit stuffed up, but I'll share my screen with you and we're going to do this all in the Pro Stitcher. We don't need Designer for this. We're going to do it all in the Pro Stitcher. So let me share my screen with you over to Pro Stitcher. Okay. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to set up our perimeters that we're going to quilt in. So I want my table runner to have three 12-inch blocks in it. And this is going to be a whole cloth. I'm not going to piece it. You can piece it if you want to, but I'm not going to piece it. I'm going to do it on a plain piece of fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Design, Open, and I'm going to go into my blocks, which is open already, and I'm going to get out my square 4x4. I use this one so much right here, square 4x4, open, that I actually, I'll show you what I did. I saved it. I did a file save, and I put an A in front of it. So when I saved it, I typed in A square 4x4, and now that's at the top of my blocks because I use it all the time. Okay, so we have a square that's 4 inches by 4 inches, and I want to change that to 12 inches. Hold on, let me start my, I want to change that to 12 inches. So I'm going to go modify, resize. I'm going to put my lock on and I'm going to type in 12 and I'm going to hit enter. Now my square is 12 inches by 12 inches, and you can see that up here in the bar, the top bar. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want 3 of these on my quilt, 3 going across from my table. So I'm going to go to repeat, and under horizontal, I'm going to type in, or I'm going to hit the plus arrow till I get to 3. And now you see I have 3 12-inch squares. So it's 12, 24, 36 inches by 12 inches high. But I want a sashing in between. So I'm going to come over here to my gap under the horizontal, and I'm going to type in 2 inches because I want a 2-inch sashing in there. And if you want to piece this, you're going to cut a 2.5-inch piece of fabric and it'll finish it too. So I'm going to type in 2 and I'm going to hit enter. And look at that, I've got my gap in there. So now that I have that set up, I'm going to baseline that because I don't want to change that at all anymore. I just want to keep it as it is. Now I want to put a border at the top, the bottom, and the 2 sides. So I'm going to go to File, Design, and I used my square 4x4, so it's at the top. I'm going to get another one. Now I know that this is 40 inches across, and you can see it up at the top, or in your workspace, you can see, sorry, in your design, in your workspace, if you hit the repeat 4x4, it'll come up and it'll say 40 by 12. So I want this to be 40 inches long. So I'm going to go modify, resize. I'm going to take off my lock. My width is selected, and I'm going to type in 40. Enter. And I want it to be 3 inches in height. So I'm going to type in 3. There we go. And there is my top border. How am I going to get that on top of my squares? I'm going to take my crosshairs. Now I'm in my simulator, so my simulator button is pushed so I can move my needle around. And I'm going to put my needle right at the top of my blocks. And I'm going to get it right in there. I'm going to turn on my follow, and I'm going to zoom in there so I can make sure I'm getting my crosshair right there. Okay, back to simulate. Move that crosshair right on the top there. Perfect. Okay, let's refresh my screen again. And now I want to take this box, this border, and put it to my crosshair. So I'm going to go modify, reposition, and I'm going to reposition this on the bottom of the left-hand side of the crosshair, bottom left. And look at that, there it is. I'll move my crosshair out of the way so you can see that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that. So I'm going to come up to Edit, Duplicate, and there it copied it, and it put it at the start point at my crosshair. So now I have to move my crosshair, and I'm going to zoom in right here at the bottom so I get my crosshair exactly where I want it. I'm going to turn on my simulator, and now I'm going to put my crosshair right at the bottom. Get it in there, and this is what you're going to do at your machine. And now I'm going to position it bottom left. So modify, reposition, and I want to reposition it bottom left. Oops, nope, nope. Top left, sorry, top left, because I wanted to come under. All right, let me move this away, top left. All right, let's see. So now I've got my 3 blocks in here. I have my top border, my bottom border, and I'm going to select all by coming down here to these 3 arrows, and the one on the very left says select all. So now that I have that the way that I want it, I'm going to baseline that so I don't move anything around. Now we want to do our side borders. So our design now is 12 and 3 and 3, so that's 18 inches, and you can see that at the top, 18 inches, and I want a 3-inch border. So again, back to my file, design, square 4x4. And I'm going to change that, modify, resize. I'm going to move this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to change the height, no lock on, to 18 inches. Enter. And I'm going to change the width to 3 inches to match the top and the bottom. Okay, now let's refresh the screen. Now I want to get this over to the side of my pattern here. So I'm going to move my crosshair. Oh, let's get it right in here. Let's zoom in here. And I'm going to simulate, and I'm going to move that crosshair right there. Perfect. Let's get this back. And now I'm going to say reposition, and I want the top right. So I'm going to press top right. And there it is. So now before I baseline it, I'm going to edit and duplicate it. And I'm going to move my crosshair over here to the right-hand side of my table runner. And sometimes you can see those lines fade out just a little bit, and you know you've got it right. I'm going to zoom in there so I make sure that I get that perfectly on there. And that's what you're going to do at your machine. You're going to zoom in and you're going to look at that and you're going to get it exactly where you want it. Okay. That looks about, come on. Come in just a little bit right there. Okay, might be off just a stitch, but that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to take this box while it's selected, and I'm going to modify, reposition, top right. No, top left. There we go. Can always undo, right? Okay, so let's move my crosshair out of the way. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select all, and my whole design is now selected. So I'm going to baseline. And now we're going to start putting patterns in. So let's do the 3 squares in the middle. Let's go File, Design, Open, and let's go to our blocks again. And I really like the feather block. but this is where you can play with all your blocks and see what you like, which one you like to just play with different ones, see how they quilt out. So here's the feather block. It's a square block, and I'm going to place it in my first square here. So I need an area. So I'm going to go up to area, and I'm going to move my crosshair right into that block, and I'm going to say to corner, and I'm going to move my crosshair to the bottom right, top left, bottom right when you're doing this. And I'm going to say to corner. And now, while my pattern is selected, I'm going to go modify, skew, and I am going to skew that block in there. Okay. Now I'm going to baseline that block because when I take my area away, it will remain the size that I changed it. So I'm going to go area, clear, and now I'm going to repeat 2 more blocks, and I'm going to put a 2-inch gap, horizontal 2-inch gap, enter, and look at how that fit in there perfectly. Well, almost. I'm off a little bit on one line, but good enough. At the machine, I'll get it right because I'll be multi-pointing my area. Okay, so now that I have that, we're going to fill in, we're going to select everything. So select all and baseline it. And then I'm going to fill in my borders. So let's go to File, Design, Open, and we're going to go to Continuous Line. And let's pick out a design in continuous line. Let's take these apple leaves. Open. Okay, so now I need an area for my top border here. So I'm going to select area. I'm going to move my crosshair to the top left. I'm going to say to corner, and I'm going to move my crosshair to the top, bottom right. And just about there, I'm going to say to corner. Okay, now when you're at your machine doing this, it would be best to multi-point, 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 multi-point because fabric moves. And so you might not have a perfectly straight line like you do in your simulator. Okay, so while my apple leaves is still selected, I'm going to go to repeat, and we're going to go over here to fill. Now, we obviously need some more, and it needs to be resized. So I normally don't use stretch except for my borders. I don't use stretch on an edge to edge, but I do use it for my borders. So look what happens when I go stretch horizontal and then I go stretch vertical. It kind of distorted the pattern a little bit. So I'm going to come back here to horizontal and I'm going to add another repeat. Maybe another. Maybe one more. That looks good. I like the way that that looks. So now I like that. I'm going to baseline it and I'm going to clear my area. Clear my area. And I'm going to edit, duplicate. And now I'll move my crosshair down here. Now, at your actual machine, you're going to create another area to skew that in here. You're not going to do what I'm doing here because, like I said, fabric moves. Every time you stitch, you're compressing 3 layers together. You're taking your top, your batting, and your backing, and you're smushing them down. So as you're doing that, your fabric is moving. So you're not going to get perfectly straight lines. So every element that you're going to put in this whole cloth quilt, you are going to create a new area for. Okay. So on the simulator, I can do this because they are perfectly straight lines. So I want to bring my design to the top left-hand corner here. So modify, reposition, top left. and there's my border. So now I'm going to select all, and I'm going to baseline. All right, now let's choose another design for the two side borders. So File, Design, Open, and we're in continuous line. And let's see. Oh, let's do this flipped on feathers. Okay, so we're going to open that. Now, the first thing I want to do with that is I want to rotate it. So I'm going to modify, rotate, and I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees, 90 degrees. Okay, push it twice, 90 degrees. Now my start's at the top and my stop is at the bottom. All right, so let's go to repeat. And we're going to get an area first because it won't repeat if I don't have an area. So I want to move my crosshair down here and go to corner. And I'm going to move my crosshair over here. And I'm going to go to corner. Now, I'll move that out of the way a little bit. I'm going to go to repeat and fill. I think I need another one in there, but this one is vertical. It's not horizontal. So I'm going to push the vertical button and I'm going to add another one. And I'm going to say stretch. And I'm going to make sure that the top the horizontal is stretched and the vertical is stretched. Let's see what happens if we add one more in there. I like to see what they do. Oh, I don't like that at all. Okay, let's take it out. So now I've got two repeats in there, and I like that. So I'm going to baseline that. And while just the feathers is selected, I'm going to go Edit, Duplicate, and I'm going to move my crosshair across over to here. And I'm going to go to Modify, Reposition, and I want it over here in the top left. And there it is. So I'm going to baseline that, clear my area, and there we have it. I'm going to select all. There we go. Now, let's put some piano keys in here to break up these those sashings. Let's put some piano keys in those sashings. So I'm going to go to File, Design, Open. And I happen to know that Susan Manry has piano keys. Where to go? Susan, piano keys. So we have some choices here. Let's just get the regular piano keys and open. Okay, let's see. Let's rotate that. So modify, rotate, and we're going to go 45, 90. Okay. And now I'm going to create an area inside this sashing here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see better. I'm going to zoom and let's see. There we go. To corner. And I'm going to pan down so I don't lose my zoom. And get my simulator and here. And go to corner. And now I'm going to refresh my screen. Move my crosshair out of the way. And go repeat, fill. And let's refresh that design. So instead of refreshing my screen, I'm going to refresh to the pattern. And I want another repeat in there. And I am going to stretch the vertical and stretch the horizontal. Man, that looks really good. Okay, so now I'm going to refresh my screen. I'm going to baseline. But because I changed the original pattern and made it into another size, so I baseline it. And now I'm going to clear my area and I'm going to edit, duplicate. Going to move my crosshair right here in this corner. And I'm going to say modify, reposition, top left. And I'm going to baseline that and clear my area. Select, looks like I'm off just a little bit. I can probably reposition that. Modify, reposition, and we'll use these keys down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to reposition in there and up a little bit. Okay, but at the machine, you would be skewing that into your area. Boy, that looks really cute, doesn't it? Okay, so now that I'm done, I'm going to select all, and I'm going to baseline. And I am finished with my whole cloth quilt. So I'm going to stitch this out, and then on another video, we're going to add a um, square on point in these blocks. And then we're going to have some triangles on the sides of those, and we'll stitch those as well. We'll create those as well. So I hope that helped those of you that want to do a whole cloth, just setting up a table runner using the designs that are in your Pro Stitcher. There's so many designers out there with great patterns that you might be purchasing and you want to put them in there, that's fine. Pro Stitcher Lite, you have Pro Stitcher patterns, blocks, continuous line, triangles. So I'm trying to use what we have. You don't have the piano keys, but you might have something in your continuous line. I can't remember, but you have all these other patterns. So give this a try. Give me a thumbs up, please. Let me know that you like this, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification. Um, and that's all I have for today. Enjoy doing this. Put this on Pro Stitcher Posse when you get one stitched out. I'd love to see what you do. All right, so I'll be back, and the next time I'm on, I'll show you my one stitched out, and we'll change it up a little bit by adding something into these blocks so we can make it a little bit more complicated. And I might even show you how to put some clamshells on top so you can cut a scalloped edge. Wouldn't that be cute? So enjoy, hit the like button, and I'll see you really soon. Take care, everybody. Go quilt something. Bye.